Okay, so we're going to solve an example on decision trees. So the question goes like this. Sarah King, the president of King Electronics Incorporated, has two design options for a new line of high-resolution cathode ray tubes for CAD workstations. The life cycle sales forecast of the CRT is 100,000 units. Okay, that's important. The first design A, has a 90% probability of yielding 59 good units. Alright, so that means that it's going to yield 41 bad units per 100, and a 10% probability of yielding 64 good units per 100. This design will cost $1 million. Design B has an 80% probability of yielding 64 good units and a 20% probability of yielding 59 good units per 100. This design will cost $1,350,000. So, good or bad, each CRT will sell for $75. So that's the cost of production. Each good CRT will sell for $150. Bad ones are destroyed and have no salvage value. Any disposal costs can be ignored. Okay, so to start off, we need to make a decision tree. So we can start it with a square. Now, first we have two options. Okay, so this is design A. Now, if we choose design A, there are two possible outcomes. First, there is a 90% chance that we will yield 59 good units per 100. Alright, so it's 59 per 100. So if we're manufacturing 100,000 units, that basically means that we will be producing 59,000 units, and we'll be selling them for 150 each, right? So that would be, let me pull out my calculator. So that would be 59,000 times 150. That's 8,850,000. Okay, 8,850,000. So that's our total sales. Now, however, the variable cost is 75 for the entire 100,000 units, right? So the cost of production is actually going to be $7.5 million. So that's one. Now, it also tells us that the design will cost $1 million. So that's the fixed cost. So this is the variable cost. Now the fixed cost is actually going to be $1 million. So now the profit, or the EMV, no, it's actually just the net cash flows if the 90% probability actually occurs, is going to be 850,000. So 8,850,000 minus 7.5 million minus 1 million. So that's 350,000. That's what we're going to be left with. 350,000. Okay, so I'm going to erase that just to make it a little more easier to see. So let's put in. So we have sales of 8,850,000 minus 7.5 million minus 1 million. So we're left with 350,000. Now the second option is a 10% chance of getting 64 good units. So if we had 64 good units, then we would actually, if we had 64 good units per 100, then we'd actually be making 64,000 good units and selling them for 150 each, right? So we'd have 9.6 million. Okay, 9.6 million. Our cost of production would still stay the same, would be 7.5 million, and the fixed cost would also remain 1 million. So now we subtract 7.5 million variable cost and the 1 million fixed cost, would end up with 1.1 million. Okay, so that's 1.1 million. So now to calculate the expected monetary value for design A, or we would also call it EMV for design A, we'd have to multiply 350,000 with the probability of the outcome actually happening, which is 0.9. So let's go back. 350,000 multiplied by 0.9 would give 315,000. And if you multiply 1.1 million by 0.1, that would be 110,000. So if we add these two together, we would have 425,000. So that is the expected monetary value of design A. So now let's calculate the EMV for design B. So the first option, we have a 80% chance of 80% chance of yielding 64 good units per 100. So there's an 80% chance of getting 64,000 good units, which we would sell for 150. So that would be 9.6 million. The cost of production would, for the variable cost, would remain the same, 7.5 million. Now the fixed cost is actually increased to 1.35 million. There we go. So 9.6 million minus 7.5 million minus 1.35 million. So we'd end up with 750,000 as the net value for the first part. Now the second choice we have, or the second possibility, is a 0.2 or a 20% chance of yielding 59 good units. So we're back to sales of 8,850,000 units minus the variable cost of 7.5 million minus the fixed cost of 1.35 million. So we have that minus that minus, oops. So that kind of ended out to be 0 perfectly. So yeah, so this is 0. So now we have a 80% chance of getting 750,000. So 750,000 times 0.8 is 600,000. And the second leg has 0. So the EMV now for design B is 600,000. Okay, so based on the decision tree, it would be wiser for Sarah King to opt with design B, since it yields a better expected monetary value. Alright, so I hope this wasn't very confusing for you guys, since you guys have already done this in another QT or something like that. But if you have any questions with this, please let me know in class.